I think in the Brad Feld School, we have lots and lots of experiences that are not inside the classroom and that are in real things that are going on. And it's no different than how I live my world of business today with entrepreneurship. I mean, the idea that I'm not sure if you're familiar with the notion of Startup Weekend, but Startup Weekend is a thing that was created here in Boulder actually in 2007. It's now thousands of them happen around the world every year, and it's a 54-hour weekend experience where you start companies, and it's one of the best ways to learn how to be an entrepreneur, to experience entrepreneurship. It's also a great place to go if you're an entrepreneur, if you're looking for partners, if you're looking for employees for your company. It's also incredibly fun. So you just do it because it's interesting and stimulating in terms of meeting new people and learning new things. I'd have a lot of those things. And it's not the things that are curated. It's not things where you show up and it's a set of stuff that you go through. It's lots of stuff that's inside out. Here's the container. Here's what we're going to try to do inside the container. But, here's your box of things that you get to play with. Go for it. Versus that's the wall you have to write on, and here's how you put a Post-it note on the wall, and this is how you write on a Post-it note. It's not that there's not walls and Post-it notes and people writing on them, but here's your container. Have at it. And then the teacher is involved. And that teacher might or might not be the teacher from school, or it could be a teacher from outside school, or it could be whatever it is. I would have a lot of that. I think in some ways, one of the metaphors in entrepreneurship is something that a guy named Steve Blank started and Eric Ries continued to popularize. Eric popularized it as a notion of lean startup. But Steve really started with the idea of customer development, and the best way to build products is to get your customers involved in the process very early and how that works. And today it sounds kind of obvious, but when Steve said it, it was not particularly obvious in terms of how a lot of companies got started and built their product. Steve has a great line, which is get out of the building. Just get out of the building. You're not going to learn anything sitting in the building. And I think in my school, people aren't in the building very much. I mean, if the weather's shitty outside, you'll be in the building. That's okay. But you get out of the building. Go do stuff. I mean, the planet's a fascinating place. And all the resources that you have in your school building are pretty constrained compared to the resources that are within walking distance. Take advantage of them. Not just physical resources, but intellectual resources. Well, I think that's a really big part of getting out of the building, right? It's not just, it comes back to the thing we talked about earlier. It's not just what you're learning. It's how you're learning. And part of how you're learning is how you relate and interact and communicate with other people. And if you learn to relate and interact and communicate with other people in two modalities, right? In the classroom and then out of school, right? And it could be in the schoolyard playing sports, it could be with your friends at home, but those are the two modalities that are your existence. Not very rich. If your modality in school is, I could imagine, some kids that life is a continuous series of field trips, or school is a continuous series of field trips. I mean, that would have actually been pretty good for me, because everywhere I got, by the time I got to the point where I was very, very comfortable myself exploring, if you took me on a field trip, I wasn't going to blow off the time and screw around. I was going to investigate whatever was there. And yeah, sure, there's other kids that don't learn well that way or aren't disciplined, that's fine. You have to be able to accommodate both of those. But a lot of it is learning how to then interact with your environment, communicate with the people around, ask questions, not just be a vessel that's receiving data, internalizing it, playing it back. And not just with people who are teaching you, but your peers, right? I mean, this is the brilliance of projects. And yeah, sure, we had projects. And, projects in elementary school, to the extent that I can even remember any of them, always felt like arts and crafts to me. They didn't feel like particularly substantive. They were, keep us busy doing stuff that had some manual dexterity in it and maybe a little creativity. Projects in junior high for me felt more like, two people working on dissecting a frog. Right? They were small, controlled projects, and occasionally you'd do a bigger project. But by high school, the projects started to become stretched out, but they never got into much bigger than a couple of people groups. And the groups were pretty static. And the groups were often clique-based. You know, a couple of friends over there, a couple of friends over there, versus what's more natural in the world, which is you find yourself in a situation with people you don't know, people you don't understand how they think, people you can't relate to, people you've spent no time with, and all of a sudden you got to figure something out. So creating those situations, which is part of the, you know, sort of radical decentralization, why isn't there more of this across school boundaries? Like, I get that I went to J.J. Pearson, the guys at Berkner, you know, and Richardson were our enemies on the sports field, but why didn't we do projects with them? Why didn't we go do something with the kids from Richardson? I remember, you know, a couple of schools would go to do a planetarium, but then you'd sit passively in the planetarium looking up at learning the thing, and then you'd leave. Versus for the next week, we're spending, you know, this class is spending time with this class from this other school, and you're working on this problem. Or the 7th, 8th, and 9th graders from that school that are really, really good at science, of this particular science, are going to spend the time with the 7th, 8th, and 9th graders at that school who are really, really good at this particular thing, working on a thing. And they're going to work on a thing where it's not as individuals against individuals, and it's not our team versus their team, but it's a mix and then divide again. So it's learning how to relate and learning how to work and problem solve with lots of different people.